All right. Welcome, everyone. Tonight, we're very excited to Your Vote Matters, Your Community, Your Voice. I'm Glenn Wilson, President and CEO of Communities First Inc., located here in Flint, Michigan. We're a community development organization that focus on affordable housing, economic development, arts and culture, environmental education, and civic engagement. Welcome again to Your Vote Matters. Today, we have an excellent panel that so happen to just be regular people. First off, they're either elected by the people or appointed. For our organization here at Communities First, it's important that we live by our motto of empowering people and building communities. It is impossible to engage and produce tangible change within our community without giving people access to great information and dialogue for you to empower that gives people power to change themselves and ultimately change the world. This is an open dialogue for you to ask questions in a safe environment. Today is not about talking at you, but talking with you and listening to your concerns and questions. And we ask a couple of things that you do tonight, that you share this event with your family and friends on Facebook and your social media platforms so that they can benefit from this information. And then we also ask that you be respectful of all our speakers, and we appreciate you and we look forward to the great discussion. One quote that I heard not too long ago, it says, people shouldn't be afraid of their governments and governments shouldn't be afraid of their people. And I believe that this is a good context of that's going to be a great dialogue that's going to happen today. So now I'm going to pass it off to the famous Assistant Secretary Wheeler to go ahead and with his opening remarks so we can get going.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Glenn Wilson. I hear so many good things about you, and what a pleasure to be online with the Queen of Flint, Miss Inez Brown. Madam Clerk, you have such an awesome responsibility on the way through November 3. I think we're some 44 days or so, 43 days or so away from Election Day. So God bless you. I think, Mr. Wilson, I like the way you started because people ought not be afraid of their government. That's for sure. And I believe that the power of the people will always be greater than the people in power. But the fact is, you don't have power if you don't use it. And voting is that sacred franchise. That's the one day of the year, in spite of COVID-19, in spite of rogue and racist policing, in spite of all the protests and demonstrations. This is the one day of the year where everybody is equal. And so this type of conversation encourages people to use your power. You've got to go to the poll. You've got so many different options. We've got so many new voting rights. We've got so many different enhancements, so many good things that are happening, so many conversations. People are coming together, and there's an energy that I have never seen. There's an energy all across our city, all across our states, all across this country, and actually around the world. People want to be a part of a positive solution. So I serve as Assistant Secretary of State under Jocelyn Benson. She's going to be joining us momentarily for a few moments anyway. And we're going to talk about Michigan's new voting rights. We're going to talk about things that people should take advantage of, everything from the right to vote by mail, vote from the comfort of your own home, ballot boxes, ballot tracking. All of those are new enhancements designed to make it easier for you to participate in this process. No excuse absentee voting, same day voter registration. It's a new day in Michigan. In fact, Brother Wilson, Sister Brown, Michigan goes from worst to first because of this new landscape. So I'm happy to be here with you. And I see Mr. Smooth, Bilal Hamoud. He manages a lot of functions in our office. So between he and I and our secretary, when she joins us, we're prepared to tag team and provide any responses that you might need. Mr. Wilson?
Absolutely. We're at this time we're going to go ahead, I guess, and I think Bilal, you wanted to set some ground rules.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I think Bilal wanted to go ahead and set some ground rules before we get going. I know the mayor be and Secretary Benson be popping in here, so whatever Bilal you would like to go ahead and move us into, so we can before we get into that part of the discussion.
Yeah. So just setting a couple of ground rules. First off, my name is Bilal Hamoud. I'm the Public Engagement Associate with the Department of State. Really excited to be here and able to talk about some of the most exciting new voting rights that exist. As Assistant Secretary Hester Wheeler said, we have gone from worst to first. There are so many new voting rights that exist. There are so many opportunities that exist to engage, and there's so many new forms of access. Access is a big part of what we're working towards to make sure that the elections are not boarded up. You know, we want to tear down every barrier that exists because elections are the first and most important part of the democratic process. It is a right that every citizen has, and it's something that we want to make sure everyone takes advantage of. So we're going to dive into the fun stuff soon. I just want to let you all know that we are here to take your questions. We have people on the line behind the scenes ready to take your questions, hear out what you want to say. So we're going to be ready. We're going to be prepared to talk to you about what we got going on. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it back over to Glenn. Take it away, sir.
All right. I want to also give the mayor an opportunity to just say his hellos and give his open remarks, and then also the city clerk directly after that. Mayor Neely, will you please go ahead and give your quick opening remarks, and then Ms. Inez Brown, can you go directly after that, please?
Yep. Good evening. Just hello, and my name is Sheldon Neely, and I serve as the mayor of the city of Flint. And I just want to encourage all the people who are going to be viewing this or asking questions or participating to engage in the greatest American right that we have.
Yes.
The greatest American right that we have is to participate in our leadership and those that will be serving us. And so we don't want to miss out on this opportunity. Historically, when we talk about the dominant tendencies of a society or a nation that always didn't love Black or brown people, that once the emancipation came in 1865, we have been fighting for a right that sometimes have been going not used fully. First, it was Jim Crow, poll tax, literacy test, and now we have to fight against this overall apathy of not getting to the ballot box. But we want to make sure that this right is going to be secured, observed, and cherished and rewarded at the end of the day. And so engage in the greatest American right that we have as American citizens, and that's to participate in this process. And so whether you vote, however you vote, but you don't want to miss out in participating. So that's what I have for you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Mayor Neely. Ms. Inez Brown, please.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with such an illustrious panel this evening. The mayor, of course, Mr. Hester Wheeler, and others. Yes. And I certainly look forward to working with you all as we move forward with the upcoming November election. I should also indicate to you all that I've kind of personally been involved in the election process since I was about 10 or 11 years old.
Awesome.
Because my parents, who were very active here in the city of Flint back in the 40s and the 50s, were active as well with respect to civil rights, voting rights, and so forth through the UAW and other organizations that they were a part of. So I've been involved with this, as I mentioned, for a long, long time, and will continue to be involved for as long as it takes me and as long as I can be. I also want to thank Secretary Benson, as well as her staff, for all of their hard work. There's been a lot of legislation passed under her jurisdiction that has not been passed before. A lot of really significant legislation that really benefits and gives the right to the voters of the city of Flint and others. And so I just wanted to indicate to Joycelyn Benson that we appreciate all this of her hard work and certainly look forward to working with her again in the near future as we move forward. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Inez Brown. Greatly appreciate that. Tonight is all about us engaging with the community, and I appreciate everybody's sincere remarks opening up tonight. We've had people already sending in questions once they found out that we were having this event that they sent through our online portal. And so please, we ask that for the people that's online right now, that's watching on the different social media platforms, please go ahead and start sending in your questions, your additional questions. We'll also have some people joining live to ask some questions here pretty soon as well. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right into some questions while we're waiting on Secretary Benson to come in. But I think this would be a good question for Mayor Neely to start off with, um, because we already got a question in right now. You've run campaigns, Mayor Neely, for city council, state rep, and now mayor. Uh, what have you seen were the biggest barriers you saw for people who wanted to vote?
If you can repeat the first part of that question, somebody was knocking at the door of my security system. My dog went off at the same time. You were asking that. And so if you don't mind just repeating that question for me, so I won't miss anything.
Yep, no problem. So you've run campaigns now for city council, for state representative, and for mayor. What were the biggest barriers that you saw for people who wanted to vote?
Well, the biggest barriers is having the good information. Good information starts with, especially in the state of Michigan, people with felonies have the opportunity to vote. And that was one of the misnomers that people did not believe in the state of Michigan. They had the opportunity to participate in the greatest American right that we have. Educating people up, and also about how to go through a process of voting, because in secondary education, especially in inner city areas, social studies is not taught widely, and people have a very different understanding about the process. And usually, what they find out is that what they hear about from their pastors, or they may get a cheat card from a union or other things. But people really want to be educated and edified by what they engage in and understanding the process. And so what we've done over the period of time, from council to state representative to mayor, is try to educate people and empower people and allow them the opportunity to study and make a decision of their own choice. And so that's what we've done. And so one of the biggest things that the biggest challenges that I've seen is, having people with a great understanding about how to participate in the process. And even with this panel here, we all know, like, take, for instance, on the ballot is going to be the Board of Regents for colleges. And many of the novice voters or the transient voters may not understand what that is, or they may opt out on that particular piece of the ballot. And so education is important. And so we all have to take a responsibility and a duty to educate our neighbors, friends, and family members to get over that hump. Edify a person so they won't be a transient voter, so they'll be a residential voter, meaning that they will vote every particular time there's an issue on the ballot that may face them or their family. And so education is key to doing this. And when I was over the Legislative Black Caucus, we designed a tutorial to reach out to the hard voting areas to be able to support the education of voters.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Mayor Lee. We really appreciate that. Like you said, education is definitely a powerful tool. I think this is why Secretary of State and, City of Flint and all these partners, with Voting Matters Initiative came together to put this on. So thank you so much for that information. It just more clarifies the power of information. We have a live person that's going to come online now, so we'll bring them up. And so this is Chia Morgan. She had a question for the city clerk. Chia is very involved in the community and politics in many different ways. And she just wanted to ask a quick question to the city clerk. And so Chia, you have go ahead and ask your question live. You have to unmute, Chia. You're muted.
Am I muted? I can't.
Now you're unmuted. All right. You're good. Go ahead and ask your question.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I just said thank you for having me and inviting me to be here to address this question. And I want to just give a hello to everybody that's on the panel, Mr. Mayor, Ms. Inez, Mr. Wheeler, and the Michigan Secretary of State Representative, Mr. Hammond. And as Glenn stated, I'm very active in politics here. And so understanding what's next for us as we're getting voters out and mobilizing them is very important. So Ms. Brown, in the last election, we had it where you deputized individuals and they were able to go and help get those ballots back, and where we had the drop boxes around the city. Is that something that we can look forward to in November?
Clerk Brown, I believe you're muted.
Can you start that back over, Ms. Brown?
Yes. Yes, what I indicated to Ms. Morgan is that We will continue that process with the upcoming election. However, we do plan to expand it by adding some drop boxes, thanks to the mayor,
Okay.
to the 4 fire stations in the city of Flint.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you very much. And so we can just look for press releases on the specifics of those locations and the dates when they will be available.
Yes, we plan to issue a press release the moment that we plan to go live with it. Of course, we're not planning at this point to do it, but the moment we go live with it, just before, we will issue a press. In fact, I will be calling a press conference to bring
Thank
the
you.
attention of the community to it.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for expanding those boxes that are available to the city.
Okay, thank you so much, Chia, for joining us. I also
Thank
just
you.
wanted to, Assistant Secretary Wheeler, since we're talking about the absentee voter, and I know with the information that you were talking about earlier, what are the different ways that people can vote just on a, not just in Flint, just on a statewide level, the different ways
That's
that people
correct.
can vote?
Yeah, but, and thank you again, Brother Wilson. First of all, let me say hello to Mr. Mayor Sheldon Neely, my man. I applaud your leadership all the way through. We've got an awesome responsibility all the way through Election Day. So we look forward to working with all of you there in Flint, Inez Brown and Mayor Neely and Glenn Wilson. Thank you for your continuing leadership. No excuse absentee voting provides an opportunity, particularly in this COVID-19 environment. 2.5 million people voted on August 4, which was our primary. And guess what? 1.6 million voted by mail. They voted from the comfort of their own home. They took advantage of no excuse absentee voting. So what that means is way more people took advantage of no excuse absentee voting than actually went to the poll. And if you're African American, if you're Black or brown, you're age 50 or over, there's a good chance that you suffer a compromised immune system. So we would encourage people to take advantage of voting from the comfort of their own home. If you want, you can go to the poll, but and know that there will be ample PPE equipment. I know Ms. Brown and I have had ongoing conversations, and all of your polling places will be safe. We want you to wash your hands and wear your mask and practice social distancing. But we're also saying, so you can vote by mail. You can use the traditional United States Post Office mailbox. You can take your ballot directly to the clerk, or you can take advantage of those drop boxes that Clerk Brown just announced. There are multiple ways to get your ballot to the clerk. It is also especially significant that people just know that this is another season. There's an energy that I've never seen. None of us have ever seen. COVID-19 is in fact a pandemic, and we've rightfully declared a state of emergency. Most of us have lived long enough to know that poverty is in fact a pandemic, and we've yet to declare a state of emergency. But racism and rogue policing is also a pandemic, and we need to declare a state of emergency. So I am saying those of us who have responsibilities at the community leadership level, we've got to help protesters move to power. We've got to help protesters move from agony to action. Election day is that sacred moment where you get to actually live your power. So whatever it takes, the reason we call this VMI or Voting Matters Initiatives, that's in the same spirit that Black Lives Matter. We're saying voting matters. We've looked at the 100 low performing precincts from across the state of Michigan, and we said whatever we can do, and we appreciate Mayor Neely and Clerk Brown helping us. We want to go into those communities that don't always participate at the level that they could and at the level that they should. So we know that Mayor Neely just highlighted one of the most frequently asked questions, particularly in low performing precincts, is do I have the right? I've been to jail. And why is that significant, particularly in African American communities? 30 years or so ago, very few of us knew anybody that was in prison. Today, with all the disparities in the criminalization process, half of us are related to somebody in prison. So we need to articulate that over and over. Your right to vote is automatically restored here in Michigan. We're proud also under Jocelyn Benson's leadership to announce several initiatives that we've embraced. In addition to Voting Matters Initiative, we have the Democracy MVP program, where we've recruited poll workers and election workers from across the state. We will have an ample supply. Jocelyn will be here in a minute. I'm getting a text, and she'll be announcing how many election workers that have already signed up. I can tell you it's thousands. We took a look at what can we address after we got to the Secretary of State's office. 4 blocks from our office is the Michigan Department of Correction. There's never been a formal relationship. And Mayor Neely, you and I talked about this when you were in the legislature and your leadership with the Legislative Black Caucus. I am proud to announce that every one of the 8,000 plus returning citizens will have, when they leave a Michigan prison as of today, they will have a driver's license, a state identification card, and a voter registration card. We made that happen. We just put together a memo of understanding. It's a new day in Lansing. It's a new day in Michigan. And we know that there's a relationship between the number of times you touch a voter and the likelihood that they will participate. So we appreciate all of your leadership. And there are a lot of ways you can get your ballot to the clerk's office.
All right. So there's a good follow-up question to that. And I think this might be for Miss Clerk or Assistant Wheeler or Bilal, however you want to do this. But a question just came up: is how do I know my mail-in vote will be counted? So we were just talking about absentee. Somebody wanted to know that to answer that question.
Well, I can tell you this, and Clerk Brown, you can take it also. But I know a lot of communities are taking advantage of a new technology called ballot tracking. And ballot tracking is just like when you are flying on an airplane. On the day that we mail you your absentee ballot, we send you a text message if you sign up for that particular service. On the day your ballot comes back, you get another text message saying, we've received your ballot. I can tell you this too. I know you guys got a pretty sophisticated website there in Flint, but I don't want to get in trouble with the mayor or the clerk. But I can tell you the baddest website in all of government is michigan.gov/vote. If you go to the Secretary of State's website, michigan.gov/vote, you type your name in, you put your driver's license number in, we're going to tell you exactly where your polling place is. And once we find out the locations of your various drop boxes, your drop box is going to be on that website. Also, on the day that your absentee ballot is mailed to you, it will say it on that particular website on the day that your absentee ballot is received back by us. So we're doing our part to help all 1,500 plus clerks across the state of Michigan. And we're trying to put those kinds of assurances in place. Those ballot drop boxes are safe and secure. Most clerks are putting lights and cameras on those drop boxes. But I love the fact that Clerk Brown highlighted there are fire stations. That's probably one of the safest spaces in the community. That's better than being at a police department, because the brothers ain't gonna stop at the police department unnecessarily. But you know, I am suggesting whatever it takes to reassure voters that we're committed to them getting their ballots and that we're committed to collecting their ballots. There are a lot of new opportunities for people to feel comfortable about this process. That's why Mayor Neely's voice and Clerk Brown's voice is so necessary all the way through election week.
Thank you so much. Clerk Brown, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think Mr. Wheeler responded appropriately, but I would encourage you that should any voter have a complaint, concern, or a question, they can always pick up the phone, call the office. We will respond to them. We do answer the phones, and we respond to the questions that come to us, whether they're in writing or whether they're verbal.
Thank you very much. We have someone else that's going to be coming on live here to ask another question to the group. I know we're talking about education, and the north end of Flint, I think, is having a hard time with getting certain people in certain zip codes. So Leo, he can tell where he's from, but I know he has a new church up on the north end of Flint, over off Holbrook. I think I'll let him talk more about it, but he's in one of those areas, and I know Leo's trying to do some stuff up there. So Leo, can you go ahead and ask your question to the group, please? And tell what you do and where you're from as well.
Yes, my name is Leo Robinson, and I'm a lead pastor of a church launch that's happening October 11th on the north side of Flint. The church is called Good Church, and we are a multicultural church, multi-generational church. And one of my questions that I have for you guys is just with the new church, with really honestly, most of our contingencies, our members are pretty much young adults. how, like, just some ways of how can I encourage their efforts to go out and vote. I really want to make sure, because I understand how important it is, and the demographics that we're serving, they kind of fit into everything that you guys have been talking about. These are some of the individuals that have not been going in the past. So how can we encourage them, especially from my position? How would you encourage me to encourage them to go out and vote?
Let me jump in if you don't mind. I believe, first of all, let me say, Pastor Leo Robinson, man, I like the name of that church, the Good Church. Yes, that's the name of your church. Well, I know from my own life experience.
Yes, sir. Yes,
church
sir.
is good all the time anyway, so you just put it in your name. Quite strategic. But I believe, like you, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And I don't think any of us should ever apologize for being committed to self-determination. Voting is it. Voting is it. I understand the economic empowerment. I understand health and wellness. But do you know how many rules they put in place over the years to make sure you don't vote? Do you know how hard it has been for many of us to rise above all of the challenges associated with voter disenfranchisement? If you don't vote, you don't get the representation you need. There's a good chance we'll lose congressional districts in Michigan if we don't get the vote out. There's a good chance, Mayor Neely and Clerk Brown, you guys can speak to this a lot more eloquently as it relates to census participation. If people don't participate in these civic engagement processes, I hate to say it like this, but it's almost like when you don't vote, you don't count. If nobody knows you exist, and they keep changing the rules. You want to see a case study in Politics 101? Watch how this Supreme Court debate plays out. Mayor Neely, how important is that vote up there in Flint? What would you say to young people as to why they should participate? Mayor Neely, I just...
Yep. I just unmuted. I want to just commend Clerk Brown also for making those fire station boxes available with her intellectual property, that we're going to be able to expand the opportunity for people to participate and vote. But to the pastor, one of the things that you might want to do with those young people is have a roundtable discussion with them. If you want to take a look at the tutorial that was written for the Michigan Legislative Black Caucus, is maybe a 45-minute tutorial on a PowerPoint showing them the benefit of them engaging in the process. You talk about criminal justice reform and how people are prosecuted, or judicial areas, or our executive branch or our legislative branch. If they understand how it's important to them, they will understand how them weighing in will make a difference in their lives and the lives of their families. Then once you do that, once you educate people, you will find them engaging in the process and also spreading the good news, spreading the news about the 19th Amendment, about suffrage, the 150-year anniversary of women being able to have the opportunity to participate in the vote. Educating them about the Bill of Rights. Ask someone how many of the Bill of Rights in the top 10 do you know? You'll find out most people only know about 3, right? I mean, much like the 10 Commandments, most people only know about 5. But if you engage them in a roundtable discussion and saying this is important to you because of, and educate them what they have to lose, you'll find them more engaged in the process to participate in the right to voting and understanding that. And so we'll make that available to you if you want that tutorial. We've just rewritten that tutorial for this area. It changes. We have to refresh it every couple of years. We put it in place about maybe 4 years ago, and it's been used in many urban communities throughout the state of Michigan, and it's been proven to be very valuable. But you got to have clerks like Inez Brown, and people like Hester Wheeler at the Secretary of State making these things available and providing levels of resources and education to people like what Glenn Wilson is doing here. And so that will reach people all across the state of Michigan and revive the voting process.
Yes, sir.
Right. And just a quick comment.
Hey, Glenn, speaking of the secretary, I think she should be on right now.
Oh, wonderful.
Yep, I was just about to add one quick thing. You were just mentioning here when you mentioned the census. So I'm just putting in a shameless plug for the census right now. So please go to your website. Please do your census. And do that as soon as possible. So that'll be coming up at the bottom of your screen to do your census. And now we're going to be now transitioning to have Secretary Johnson Benson. She'll be able to come online. Leo, thank you so much for your question. Very much.
So you're transitioning our secretary and
Yep,
Jocelyn
secretary.
Benson.
Yep, secretary.
She
All
just-
right, there she goes.
She's
Yeah,
Hello,
I've
hello.
been backstage. It's been great to just watch all of you and listen. I've really enjoyed. It's actually nice to just like sit for a moment and listen to you all. So thank you. And I don't want to intervene in the discussion. The purpose of this is to listen and learn about how the state can better serve the city of Flint. And so I'm happy to continue to listen. You've got my Deputy Secretary, Hester Wheeler. I think the state is committed to getting you the resources and support you need to ensure every vote is counted and every voice is heard. I know we had talked with the clerk several times, but last week, and I know you got a big day tomorrow, Mayor. But I look forward to connecting with you on the other side of that. But the bottom line is, we want to learn from you how we can ensure that all the resources we have at our disposal are put to work for you and your citizens, residents. Early voting starts this week. People are going to start going to Flint City Hall, to the clerk's office to get their ballots and to vote early. We want to support the clerk and make sure that she has everything she needs for those resources to be allocated to our citizens. And again, we're here to listen though tonight from you all in terms of what we can do in these last 40 days of this critical election cycle to again ensure that every Flint voter's voice is heard and vote is counted.
And Madam, I told him in advance that you might talk about Democracy MVP and the number of volunteers that have signed up already. And I just want to put in a shameless plug for Jocelyn. She won't tell you all of this, but she's got so much energy and so many ideas. She's been thinking this stuff through long before we got to this moment. She's been so stellar in her commitment. Last week, we did get some movement out of the legislature about early processing. So I don't know, Democracy MVP, Madam Secretary, and early processing. What are your thoughts on those two?
Yes, we are in the process of recruiting election workers to be engaged in Flint and throughout the state on election day. I'm really encouraged that close to 20,000 people have applied so far to be a part of, to volunteer their time as an election worker this year. But certainly if you're interested in making sure that our clerk in Flint and throughout the state has all the support they need to manage the processes, count the ballots, staff the precincts, we are working hand in glove with the clerk to recruit and train those individuals and make sure they're ready to go. And so if anyone is interested in volunteering, you can go to or you get paid, so you can be a part of it, michigan.gov/democracy MVP.
Yep, and as you see that right on the bottom of your screen, so you can't miss it. So michigan.gov/democracy MVP to sign up to be a poll worker today. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Now, I was just going to ask her about early processing. Let me tell you one other thing about Jocelyn. She won't tell you. We were mourning the loss of John Lewis. Do you know that Jocelyn Benson got on an airplane at her own expense, and she was standing at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge when he took his final salute across that bridge? I just have to tell you that because that's just a reflection of what's in her heart, and that's one of many things that I just love about this sister, is who we call Secretary of State. Jocelyn, early processing of ballots, what do you think?
So yeah, the legislature is debating that legislation as well as several other things. And again, our position is we want to provide the clerks with the support that they need to process and tabulate all of these ballots that are going to be voting through the mail. But also right now, we want to ensure that everyone who needs that information of how to get their ballot, how to return their ballot, how to register to vote, has access to that information. So michigan.gov/vote is set up as a portal for all of that information. And you can direct people there. That's where you can register or download a form to register. It's where you can request to have your ballot mailed to you or download a form and submit that request to your clerk. And then again, remember this week, this Thursday, you can begin going to your clerk's office and voting in person, getting a ballot, filling it out, and returning it. So lots of options, lots of ways to make sure your ballot's to count this year. We'll always have election day as well. Those precincts will be open throughout Flint. I'll be looking forward to visiting many of them. And if you do choose to vote in person, you'll be met with election workers in masks, gloves, wearing sneeze guards, with hand sanitizer and everything to enable social distancing so that no one need fear they're risking their health in order to vote in person if that's the way that is most convenient for them to cast their ballot.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. I mean, that's all great information. I am so surprised. I just learned a whole bunch of information that I did not know. So it's always good. Like, you always come to get information. And then when you have that information, it's for us to be able to share that with others. And it seems as though right now, like, I'm just letting people know, continue to share this event, continue to share this post to make sure that we get this information and education out to the community that needs it most. So send it to your friends and family. That's what it's here for. I know we have another question. Somebody wants to come online, so we're going to bring another person up. This gentleman's name is Percy. He has a question. So Percy Glover, please go ahead and ask your question to the panel.
Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Glenn. My role in various roles has been primarily the last 10 years or so working with the offender population. There's a lot of misconceptions in the community. A lot of people do not understand and know that convicted felons can vote in Michigan. A lot of people don't know and understand that as an inmate in the various county jails throughout Michigan that you can vote absentee ballot. Could one of my panelists please elaborate on those things to kind of educate the community?
Yes, thank you. Yes, we are working. We've actually developed a program to ensure returning citizens have their having everything they need to know, not just to be registered to vote, but also have their identification or driver's license restored upon returning to the community. So that's been a real important priority for our administration. Deputy Secretary Wheeler has been leading that in partnership with our community outreach team that's here tonight. And I think both on that front, as well as the broader voter education information as well. One, we want every returning citizen, we want everyone who is in prison, in jail awaiting a sentence, who can still vote, as you mentioned, to get the information that they need in order to cast their ballots. But we also want to ensure the entire population has access to the information about the options to vote this year. So if developing PSAs, if developing materials, if developing radio spots, all of that stuff we can work to do, and we can work in partnership with the clerk to do to get that information out to the community and ensure that citizens of all populations, every background, every need, has the tools that they need to vote this year. So I think that's really so it's really helpful. I don't know if Zainab is here or Bilal, if you want to talk a bit about. And certainly, Hester, you've been leading on that with our office. We've got a partnership with the Michigan Department of Corrections to ensure that everyone immediately upon being released gets a packet of information that includes information on how to vote, as well as getting ID and driver's license. And we want to expand that to other prisons as well and jails in the months ahead. Secretary Wheeler, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, because again, we've been doing those visits as well. And talking with folks to make sure the materials we're developing is really in line with what they need. But I'll also mention, one output or one sort of next step out of this conversation that I'd like to execute is more PSAs and other types of education materials that we can develop to give you all to share with members of your community, of the Flint community, to ensure they have the information they need to have their voices heard this year.
Excellent. And Glenn, if you're okay, we're going to hang around. I know Jocelyn's got 3 more before 7 o'clock.
Yep. I was just about to tell her. Thank you so much, Secretary Jocelyn Benson, for being on tonight. We greatly appreciate it. Like I said, we know you're triple booked, but anytime you spend time to come and talk, to people that elected you, you know what you're there for, and that's why you're here to share this information. So we appreciate you. We look forward to having you back again to talk more about this, to keep the community civically minded, keeping them engaged in the processes to move these communities forward by having their most powerful tool, which is their voice and by voting. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And, this is an ongoing conversation. So, Mayor Neely, I'm looking forward to talking with you this week and developing some plans. And Clerk Brown, I hope to talk with you again soon. I think it's a top priority of mine to ensure that Flint has everything it needs and your residents have everything they need to have their voices heard. And so I wish I could be here for this entire discussion, but Hester and I are a team, so that's why we're able to cover more ground. But I wanted to stop by as well because you all mean a lot to me personally. And so, Mayor, look forward to talking with you more and getting there to Flint. As well several times between now and November. to talk with more residents in person if possible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Madam Secretary. And let
Did
me
you want to
let-
go ahead, Assistant Secretary, to finish Percy's question?
Yeah, I'll just add,
Okay.
Brother Percy, that's a very important population. And whatever, the more you touch voters, particularly ex-offenders, people who may have felonies on their record, the more likely they will participate. Now, it's a little more to the story too. And Mayor Neely and Clerk Brown, you guys both know this. You can't just you can't build relationships with people just when you need them. You follow me? And most people who are returning citizens, they need other services also. So what we've learned, particularly working down here in Southeast Michigan, we literally take another handout or a directory that points them to employment opportunities or in housing opportunities and resources that the government provides. So there is a relationship between the number of times you touch those particular voters and the amount of resources you bring with you and the likelihood they will participate. But their right to vote is automatically restored. And if they really want to be a player in this process, they got to exercise that sacred franchise, which is their vote, because their vote is in fact their voice.
I can say this to Mr. Glover, you are an information agent, right? So the people that you come around and come in contact with, you have to educate those individuals as well, because they're your neighbors and your friends and our family in many cases. And so you're deputized to be an information agent as a byproduct of what you're hearing here today. Anything that you may need to help educate those individuals about that, if it's materials or anything like that, please feel free to contact myself or the clerk's office to be able to do so. It's a lot of resources, time, and intellect that goes into trying to make sure people understand their rights. But we need you, and we need your intellect, and we need your power and your information circles. So you, Mr. Glover, are now deputized as an information agent for those individuals. And so we're going to be out there using you. And if you need anything, constitutions or any materials that you need, to be that agent, effective agent of information, please allow me the opportunity to help serve the people who you're going to be educating.
I will add one thing. Our offices work to make sure that we're getting this information out as efficiently and as effectively as possible, because in this era of misinformation, it is critical that you have a consistent and accurate source of information. So I encourage you, Mr. Glover, and anyone listening in on this call, if you would email us at secretary@michigan.gov, let us know that you attended this. We have toolkits that address multiple communities, which includes that returning citizens community, and that has graphics, social media information, things that you can post and share with your communities, all right there, cleanly laid out, so that you can efficiently communicate this information to your communities. Because, as Hester said, you are the trusted members of your community. You are the ones who decide how that information spreads within your community, and it's you who are going to carry on that voice and that accurate information. So please email us, let us know you attended so we can share these resources with you.
Thanks, Bilal.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bilal, and thank you everybody for that information. We have another live person to ask a question. Her name is Catherine. Sounds like she's new to Flint and she has a question for you. So Catherine, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hello, I'm Catherine, and I recently moved to Flint for an AmeriCorps opportunity. As somebody new to voting in Flint, how do I make sure that I'm registered to vote, and how do I find my voting location?
That's a great question. Who wants to take it? That's a fun one.
I would say City Clerk Brown.
Turn your microphone on, Clerk Brown. Turn your microphone on. There you go.
Well, it is on, I thought. Is it on
You're
now?
on. You're on.
Yes.
Hear you.
Okay. Ma'am, if I could ask that you give my office a call tomorrow, 766-7414, and we will walk through a number of things with you, because we welcome you to the city of Flint, and we certainly look forward to working with you as a voter, in the future. 766-7414, and we'll help you in every way that we can.
And let me say congratulations. You're a new Flintstone, like the mayor and the clerk. but also take advantage of our website, michigan.gov/vote. Lots of resources there. It'll tell you a lot of the answers to your questions also. So it's designed to supplement and complement Clerk Brown. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Catherine, for your question. We greatly appreciate that. It's always good to see this information that's being shared so we can find ways to continue to connect people to great information and the information that actually helps people, right? Is to make sure that people have things that they can use that are tangible. Also, we got a general question in. And someone asked the question, do I need a driver's license or photo ID to vote? That was a question that we got in. Who would like to go ahead? I can just open that up to anybody to answer that question.
Madam Clerk, how do you handle that?
Well, I'll let Mr. Hood go ahead and handle it since I took his other question away from him. Go ahead. Mr. Hammoud?
Yes, thank you, Clerk Brown. So I love this question because it's really exciting to share this information. You do not need an ID to vote. That is one of the best things about the voting process. You do not need any form of ID to vote. Now, I will say, if you want to register to vote online, it's required to have a Michigan ID in order to register to vote within that 2 weeks before the election. If you're within those 2 weeks before that election, you can go into your clerk's office to register to vote. The only time you need an ID is to register to vote online. Otherwise, you're good. Anything else I missed?
And Clerk Brown, is it true that if a person comes into a polling place without an identification, but their name is in the poll book, they will be extended a ballot? Am I correct, Clerk Brown? And you're on mute again. You got to hit your mute button again. There you go. Say it again.
Okay. We'd probably have them do what we call a challenge ballot, just in case. Okay.
You got it. Okay. So you are going to be able to vote.
But we also take them through probably a much more elaborate process. Each one of our chairpersons at our precinct have a telephone that we've supplied them with. We have them call our office directly and we talk one-on-one to them, just to be sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed with respect to a problem such as this. Okay.
Awesome. All right.
All right. And then we also just got another question in. Am I allowed to see my ballot before voting?
It's online right now. Go to michigan.gov/vote and put your information in. Your specific ballot to your specific address will come up. It's online right now. Hey guys, I'm in trouble. My son is the president of Wayne State University's Black Student Union, and they got 150 young people waiting for me to come on. I told them I'd be there by 6:55. Can you guys, can you forgive me?
Assistant Secretary Hester, thank you so much for being on tonight and sticking with us for so long. I understand how busy your schedule gets. I'm pretty sure I know between Mayor Neely and Clerk Brown and Bilal, I know we can get all of these questions answered. I mean, it's a great group of people here, but we greatly appreciate you very much.
I appreciate you. It is my pleasure. I love you, Clerk Brown. I promise you, if you call me and I miss you, I'm calling you right back. Mayor Neely, whatever you need, nothing sacred, whatever it is, we're going to help make it happen. And you're in good hands with Mr. Smooth, Brother Bilal Hammoud.
Thank you, Hester. Always good talking to you and seeing you. I'll talk to you soon.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
God bless.
Good night.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah. And also,
right.
Mr. Wilson, I don't know. I have to make a confession. I won't be able to stick around much longer myself. I do have another pressing engagement. I do have a collision and responsibilities this evening, but I'll stick around for a few more minutes to answer a couple more questions. If your listening audience does have any more questions for me, I would love to answer those questions and participate further. But I want to thank you, Glenn, as well for having this type of forum. And it's always great to be able to share with our individuals that may want to participate in the greatest American right that they have.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mayor. If you have to drop off eventually, I know we'll be done here in a few minutes. So thank you so much. I can open this up for everyone to ask the question. If someone encounters an issue voting on election night, what should they do? That's the question we got from the public.
If I could indicate to you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies, the person should immediately call the city clerk's office or have the election chairperson call the city clerk's office, 766-7414, and we'll walk through the process with them to try to resolve the problem. Okay.
All right. And then also, we go to another question. Do I have to vote for every office listed on the ballot?
Technically, no, but you should. You always should vote for the full ballot because each one of those positions matters.
Oh yeah, and then also you got to tell people, don't forget to flip it over.
Right.
Yeah.
Both
ballot.
If you go online, you'll see there's a lot of content on there. Look up who's running.
All right. Another question that we got come in is can I vote for different parties for different offices? So I think they were trying to ask about a straight party ticket, or can they separate? I think that was the question. They can separate their, okay. All right, I'm sorry. You know how questions come in sometimes. Does any of you know where they can get an unbiased information on each candidate?
Yeah. So when we direct our people who ask that question, it's to the League of Women Voters website, 411 Vote. There you can find unbiased, nonpartisan information on every candidate running for office. That's a great place to research your candidate to make sure that you know what they stand for and why they're running.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Well, we are out of time. Tonight was a fabulous night. We got through a whole bunch of information in a very short period of time, and I think that has to do with the individuals that were involved here tonight. So I'd just like to make sure I send our sincere thank you to Mayor Sherilyn Neely. Almost said Wheeler. Sorry about that. I almost put you guys together there. City Clerk Inez Brown, Bilal, Secretary Wheeler, and then also Assistant Secretary Wheeler and Secretary Jocelyn Benson. Thank you so much for being on with us tonight. It is very powerful to make sure that we're able to give people information and education. I believe that it says that, you know, if you have the information you need, no one will be able to silence your voice. And I'll just end with a quote tonight to kind of end this off, but it says, "Talk is cheap, voting is free, take it to the polls." So I like that. So talk is cheap, voting is free, take it to the polls. So tonight, share this information continually with your family and friends. As Mayor Neely said, and City Clerk Brown and Secretary of State Office has graciously passed off all this information to you. They said, please reach out to them, reach out to their offices. They're there to be a resource to you, to help to get you the information that you need to make sure that there's no barriers for your voice. So do not let people make you feel as though that you don't matter, that your vote doesn't matter, because it does. You are valuable. You are strong. So we plan on seeing everybody out at these ballots. Let's try to get some record numbers. Thank you so much for everybody that's tuning in. We appreciate you. Thanks, Bilal and Secretary of State, for partnering with us on this in the city of Flint as well. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.